What's up, everybody? My name is Flashstep from Blight Gaming, here with my second vlog. This one's going to be on in-game leading, so I'm going to hop right into it. 5 key points what I think an in-game leader needs. So the first thing I want to talk about is in-game leading versus strat calling. A lot of people just assume, or they just do, not even assume, they just think that's the way it should be, is that the in-game leader is just a strat caller. I think that's false. I don't think that should be the case. I think all good in-game leaders are leading the game inside and outside of game and not just calling strats. And when I say that, I mean a player who is leading discussions, making sure the dry running is happening, making sure the scrims are set up, anything that's leading, right? Versus just strat calling. Because anybody can call a strat. Calling a strat is not difficult. We've all seen multiple strats across streams, matches, scrims, whatever you want to call it. Anybody who's been playing competitive Counter-Strike has an idea of what they should be calling. It's not hard. Even if you put little to no thought into what the actual other team is doing. So I really think that if you want to become a better in-game leader or strat caller in general, try leading your team more than actually just calling strats. Second thing, know your player's strengths. Easier said than done. It's really hard for an in-game leader to come into an environment of 4 players. Maybe even they know them semi-well, or not at all, and know what the strengths and weaknesses are of each player. But once you do acquire the strengths and weaknesses of each player, you should know where to send them. Who's better at, lurking in a scenario and not calming, focusing on not calming? Who's better at calming mid-round and being able to have a discussion on what you need to do if you need to change something up? Who's going to guarantee a pick at a certain area on a certain map? Stuff of that nature. And in order to see that, you kind of have to watch demos, look at what's happening mid-round a lot of the time, and not just chalk it up to bad luck or we got out-fragged there. One of my biggest pet peeves as a in-game leader is when I hear it was just bad timing or they got a lucky shot or something. Because there's always something else you can probably do, unless it's absolutely nuts shot, right? I know there are absolutely insane shots that you do nothing about, but there's probably something you did in that round that kind of put you in a scenario where he could lay you out and you could have played a little bit better. So I really think that players, in-game leaders, should step back a little bit and look at the whole spectrum of their players and themselves, what they can do mid-round to make each round better, right? And you have to be the one who leads that discussion or leads that mentality. Third thing, adaptability. Actually, one of the hardest things to have as a leader, and it's not easy to come by. So it's the concept of in a chess game they say who's ever the most steps ahead usually is the winner. Same thing with Counter-Strike, but on almost a round-to-round level. It's really hard to predict 3 rounds in the future because of what just happened in the prior round will dictate what's happening in the next round a lot of the times. So that being said, you should be taking the time out of your day to look at teams that you're playing and what are their most consistent strats, what do they like to do, what do they not like to do, what do they avoid, things of that nature, so that you can always stay one step ahead of them. And you're going to have to take gambles in that scenario. You're not always going to be 100% right. You might send your team into a stack of some kind on an eco round or something, but those are the hard reads that you need from players at all, from an in-game leader a lot of the time, or at least the conviction that you think you have a hard read on something. And then you can learn as you get those rounds wrong, you learn, and then you go trial and error. So that kind of segues into my fourth thing, which is being convincing. No one's going to follow you or will want to follow you with the same type of conviction if you're not convincing yourself. You have to be convincing. When I say that, I mean if someone half-asses a call well, I don't know, let's go 2 middle, 3 towards A, we'll wrap onto the side or something like that. Right from the get-go, if I hear that, I'm this person's just throwing something out there, isn't really into the game or is tilted or something of that nature. And I'm a victim of that. I'm not saying that I have never done that. It happens. It's hard to get lose 6 close rounds in a row on the 7th round still be motivated. But you need to be. You need to be the player that is the person that's always motivated at all times so that your teammates can inspire to be the same, I guess. But always be convincing. Believe in your strat. Believe in your idea of what's going to happen even if you're wrong. Because you should believe it's going to work. It just might not work out, and you can learn from it and then get better later, right? Last and fifth thing is taking the time to talk. I haven't really listened to in-game leaders that much throughout the IM main, even pro or my division, other than myself really, because I'm always the one who's IGLing. So a lot of players have this concept of shoot first, talk later, where the IGLs should be way different. It should be talk first, shoot later. And some IGLs, from what I see, like on maps a lot of the time, is like mid-game, they're so focused in on fragging that I don't think a discussion happens on when like they need to adjust. So for example, if the round's going fine, you could get your first pick, get your second pick, 3v5, you kind of know where this round is going. You've had this concept of like what's going to happen at the beginning of the round. That's okay. You don't need to take like a moment and talk to your team. Like it'll just domino effect into a round win most of the time, unless it gets into a clutch situation, and then the clutchers can talk to each other. But in times where you get picked and it's 45 and not in your favor, you kind of need to pause, get into a spot where like you don't have to focus on fragging, and have a discussion with your team or like spark an idea of like what we want to do now. For example, your main pick doesn't go through, you're down numbers, you can't do like smoke execute that you wanted to late into the round. You have to adjust, you have to change it up, and the person that's going to have to do that is your in-game leader. And if the person that is in-game leading is focused on fragging, you're really going to half-ass that conversation. So don't be afraid to sit in a corner and talk. Now this will dictate how many frags you get in a half, in a match, in a season, but it's always better to have one player giving direction to 4 players than having like, and then him frag less than having like closer to the frag value and then 4 players being lost, because you have to, it's basically sharing your mentality with the entire team, right? If you're going to lead the team, you got to share the mentality of what you want to do. So those are the 5 things I think that a lot of in-game leaders maybe aren't lacking, but should like inspired to, you know, acquire as they go down playing Counter-Strike. There's tons more, don't get me wrong. Well, that's like top 5 in my head right now, and there's always something that comes up in my mind, like I'm watching an in-game leader, or if I'm watching a team play, about how they could adjust this. So I really hope that helps somebody that's coming up in the scene, or just like a quick reminder to other Prem like IGLs. Like if we do those things and we keep on like sharing that value with other players too, I think Counter-Strike becomes more competitive. We have a better environment, and like sponsors come in. Like it helps the scene grow, instead of just having like these pug strats that happen through strat callers, and then like it's less competitive games, right? So if you haven't, take this time to subscribe or just like the video. Hopefully, ideally, thank you. I'm recently told like you probably should like do a shameless plug at the end. But I don't care, man. Make a comment, say something. I just thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.